Hello everyone, welcome back for another cast, but this isn't StarCraft 2, this is Brood War, StarCraft Remastered. This is an older replay, I believe from 2014, but not the super oldest one, and it is going to be Jaedong and Hiya, whichever one. So I don't do a lot of Brood War casts, as you guys know, and I don't play a ton myself, but I have played, I do enjoy the game, I really respect the game, I think casting it's a lot of fun. Sometimes you can find me casting Have At You over on Sham2's channel, and sometimes you can find casts or games of me being playing Brood War on this YouTube channel, but it's not very common. But if you guys like it, then I'd like to do more. Unfortunately, most of the casts are going to be older games, because finding publicly available current games of the pros is quite difficult to do, although it would be really nice to have. But anyways, with that introduction out of the way, let's do the introduction of the players. In the bottom right, as the yellow Zerg, it is the one and only Jaedong. I don't like zooming in Brood War, I'm not going to do that. In the top left, as the teal Terran, it is Hiya. 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 I would say Hiya, but I feel like I've heard other casters say it Hiya, so I'm like not 100% sure how to pronounce his name. But anyways, the TVZ. A great matchup across all StarCrafts, basically. And it is with a fan favorite, Jaedong, certainly my favorite player. Even before he swapped over to StarCraft 2 and made a mark history there when I was getting into Brood War, which was 2011, 2012. He was, you know, one of the guys that a lot of the people that were getting me into Brood War really respected and would always talk about. So of course I kind of attached myself to him. At the time I was also playing a little bit of Zerg, so I was like, oh cool, a Zerg player from Brood War, and Pro League was still happening, so it was nice and easy to cheer for some of these guys who had the really cool introduction music. Man, I miss that. So Jaedong was one of my first fan favorites of Brood War, and then I slowly learned more and more and more about the game. Now with that said, I guess a little bit more on the non-game talk for a second here, as we do have what seems to be pretty normal openers. What is that, a command center first versus that's hatch. It's already down out of pool. Okay, yeah. I don't actually know a ton about Brood War. I know more than most, as in, a lot of people do not play Brood War and never watch Brood War, so I know more than them, and I know some of like the nitty-bitty details just because I have hung out with a lot of people who play, and I do watch occasionally, and I try to retain some information, but compared to what I do in StarCraft 2, oh, it's nowhere near. And compared to what the depth of knowledge you have to really know the game, to cast the game, not there either. But I do enjoy it, and that's basically why I'm doing this, so I hope you guys enjoy it too. Complete newbies, casuals to the game, you'll probably learn a little bit, but as far as like the advanced guys, I'll go ahead and say it right now. If you're going to be a dick and post in the comments like you don't know the game, stop casting it, just, you're probably going to be removed and just shunned entirely, because what's the point of doing that, guys, honestly? But if you're, just want to look for an entertaining cast and watch a game, and you don't mind the fact that I don't know everything, feel free to answer some of the general wonderments that I'll have watching this game. I don't know all the details, and I don't know exactly what compositions are super rare or super common. So sometimes I'll just be asking questions, and feel free to, answer them down below. But yeah, just, in general, it's a good rule in life to not be a dick, right? Good rule to follow. Anywho, TVZ is a matchup that I at least know somewhat about. As far as knowing anything about Brood War, Terran is what I would know most about, because that's the race that I play. Tried playing Zerg, I got frustrated very easily, both. As far as Protoss goes, I actually thought Protoss was the easiest race to play, which I've heard is pretty much the common agreement across the board. But, I don't know, I just like Terran. I was also told that I should stop playing Terran because my APM wasn't high enough, but that's not really here or there. These guys' APM is plenty high. Jaedong be my favorite player. I am cheering for him a little bit, but I do more so about the Terran, so talk a little bit about what happens there. But typically in this matchup overall, and for guys who maybe don't watch this game a ton, is that you're going to have different stages of the game, but first and foremost you're going to have the Muta stage. So 3-hatch Muta is the super common way to do it. A 2-base Muta would be, I feel like you would call it a little bit cheesier, right? Definitely a little more aggressive. But 3-hatch is what you're used to. They're going to take a hatch in the corner of the map as their third. That's just what happens. It's not a secret base. It's just normal. That's like the first telltale sign of someone who's casting Brood War. If they know anything about it, they're gonna, correctly identify it as a regular expansion. So at least I got that down right. And then you go into lurkers, of which the timing can be very, very crisp. If the Terran player is very good at defending against the mutas and attacks, the lurker timing can sometimes be the cause of death for even the pros, actually, if the Terran is really, bad on point. But then you go into Hive Tech very quickly, as Zerg in this game kind of play the role of the big, scary death ball. They're going to get these kind of like, they look wimpy because you know them as Zerglings, but honestly, until Marines have stim and range upgrades, they're actually kind of scary. And then they'll go into the very powerful lurkers, and then even more powerful defilers, as well as ultras. So that's a scary point, and we usually see the Terrans kind of custom of the current meta, I guess, and by current meta I mean the last few years, is to go over in a mech after a certain point of time. But we'll see exactly what happens, because that's kind of the two choices: either transfer over to mech or play what I think is still referred to as the SK Terran style, which is double pumped science vessels out of the starports. SK named after Sulky, but not the Sulky that we know and who I'll be casting at a later time from Brood War, but a different Sulky who played Terran a long time ago. I have some random knowledge. Great, right? Anyways, these Lings, if they had an opportunity to catch 4 Marines, 5 Marines off guard, or just like super easily surrounded, like they might have taken it. These Lings are serious business, again, until you have a decent number of units, but also with their upgrades, both of them, stim and that +1 range, which is on the way. I did take away the production tab, which is available if you all are interested in watching your own replays or, casting yourself, then it is available. I'm of the opinion that StarCraft 2 is fine with the production tab, but I don't want it in Brood War. Like, I think it's perfectly fine to have 2 different ways of casting and watching replays, So I prefer it not so much here in Brood War, but we still have our little detail infographic, which helps. Anywho, mutas are out, as I was talking about. And this is totally expected by a Terran player, and look at this missile turret lineup he has here. Now, I mean, I think it's kind of hard in StarCraft 2 to stop the glaives from being able to bounce from missile to missile. You'd rather just have them all powering at once. So I like what Hiya did here, but the bunker is also, I don't know if it's a necessity. Would you call it a necessity? But it is scary to let those mutas potentially fly in via this diagonal, right? Because then they're going to avoid all the missile turrets. But the mutas also have another job to do, which is, and we can watch him here, I guess we should be watching it, as it's Jaedong's trademark is his muta control, practicing hours and hours and hours on end just with the muta control alone. You're supposed to pick off the Marines that come across the map. This is no small force, and if you are unable to do that, then Hiya has a pretty powerful push into Jaedong's natural. There you go, you can see the muta micro happening now. That'd be a better rush the Terran's point of view, actually. You want to focus fire on the mutas, otherwise you just deal a lot of damage to a lot of different mutas, which isn't nearly as good as sniping one of them, right? But it's very hard to do, and that's what he is trying to do, like the counter micro. But his army has made it across the map. Sunkens are not quite down. Only one. The mutas are gonna have to actually just not, they can't really dodge around anymore. Mutas will probably die here. We already heard the deaths of a few, but if they can take out the Marines, then reinforcing Lings will do the rest, and it looks like that timing just barely works out. He saves 5 mutas, maybe? Yes, he will save the 5 mutas. The lurkers are done and ready to defend. That third base is up and running. Lurkers on the ramp, but they die, actually. No medics here, but just a stim and a scan, and those Marines are going to be able to take out the third base. This is actually a big problem for Jaedong, who was probably hoping for maybe, like, seriously, just like 5 more seconds. And he has probably dealt with both attacks, but without those 5 extra seconds, he's going to lose the mutas. He's lost 2 lurkers. These ones are trying to come over now. He has to replant the 3rd hatchery. I don't know if this is really super fantastic in regards, because Hiya lost a lot of units doing all of this, but I feel like catching the 3rd base and catching those lurkers was a pretty good move, and didn't even necessarily cost him gas to do this snipe squad because he didn't have any medics. So I want to say that's a net gain for our Terran player. But yeah, it's still, Brood War is not usually decided at this point in the game, even if you do take a rather large lead, which I'm not saying Hiya has, as we have to remember that Hiya still has to deal with a Zerg player that's on Hive. I mean, that felt like a really fast Hive, and this is where those veterans of Brood War can correct me. But I know Hive is much faster in Brood War than it is in StarCraft 2. That was basically right after the first lurkers are formed. Is that the normal timing, or is that just a little bit fast? And that's part of the reason he took some more damage than necessary. That's honestly just the biggest question I'm gonna have in this game, probably. But I'll have to wait for the YouTube comments for that one. Ling's just keeping track of where the army is. Drones, single lurker wants to be in position already. We do have, yeah, okay, single lurker. You can't stack your lurkers, so you always have to check, right? And that might be what he's trying to do here. So from here on out, it's going to be hard to break this base. The really disappointing thing about losing the base, I think, is that the night scout can't go up as soon as possible. As you can see, it's ready to be planted somewhere else, but it's just there's no creep spread. So that's always a little bit concerning, because what if Hiya had gone for dropships? He just completely circumvents the lurkers, and that's bad news. But he didn't. Science vessels are on the way. He does go for the 2 starports. I don't know if you can still go into mech after doing this for an extended period of time. I guess I'll learn if this goes for a very long macro game. But most Brood War games are just simply longer than StarCraft 2. More like 30, 40 minutes as opposed to 15 or 20 minutes. So I expect it to go pretty long. But now that Jaedong has all of his high tech available to him, and he has lurkers that can be transferred in and out of the Snyder's Canal, this is going to get really dangerous for the Terran, I think. But of course, it all comes down to micro. But Defiler is so good. I hope I said Defilers in the early part of this cast, didn't I? Some of the say Devours, which are in Brood War, but different, very, very different. Now, Defilers are the real scary thing. I don't think we'll see a Devourer in most matchups. Although I think I saw him at 2 weeks ago. Like a ZVP or something. Anyways, Defilers, they're huge. As they do cast that Dark Swarm, which, hey, looks a lot like Blinding Cloud, but is not like Blinding Cloud. It basically causes any ranged unit to miss, which I don't know like any further details than that, other than like they literally get like pushed off 1 hex around or something like that. But tanks with range, or sorry, not with range. Tanks with Splash, there we go. Tanks with Splash can still take out lurkers very slowly, but it can happen underneath that Dark Swarm. And I'm not certain about this, but I thought Firebats could too. But we don't see any Firebats from Hiya. Firebats usually, from what I've seen, is something that's included with one of the first 2 pushes. Not something you get as the game goes on. What is this army trying to do? You don't usually take like the odd ends of the map as expansion, so I'm not sure what Hiya's army is looking to do here. Gets trapped though by a couple of lurkers. Huh. Okay, alright. Oh, the lurker barely lives. Yeah, what Jaedong's doing is what I'm used to seeing, so I'm not sure what the army was about there. Okay. Well, unfortunately, that's going to cost him a chunk of Marines, a tank. Could have been 2 if there were a couple more Lings here. Hiya is getting into this 3rd base position, which would never be a 3rd base for most people because it doesn't have a gas. But let's just call it 3rd base because it's close to where Jaedong's natural is. So not coming in from a different angle. Let's not worry about the chokes nearly as much. It's still a bit of a choke, and you still have to worry about lurkers with those Defilers. Scientists will also worry about the Scourge. Tries to micro away from the Scourge, but it still goes down, and that is the detection for the lurkers gone, and he doesn't know if there's a Defiler somewhere. Science Vessel is not just useful for the detection. Irradiates is going to be key in killing off the Defilers. I feel like if a Science Vessel goes down without killing at least 1 Defiler, then it's not a good trade at all. It's actually maybe even a bit of a waste, but it might not be that severe. Just keep in mind that both of those units are high tech and cost a lot of gas. Yeah, just pumping away at the Marines. Whoa, actually don't know what this upgrade is. Is that an upgrade that gives Science Vessels more energy from the start? It's 50 energy. I'm gonna check back in like a second here. Oh, damn it, make for Science Vessels. Okay, well I'm gonna find out soon, I guess. Scan reveals how many lurkers there are and whether or not he can take this on. He's gonna go ahead and use it. Science Vessel started to irradiate. I said irradiate the Defilers, and I do think that's priority number 1. You can of course use it on any other units, biological unit, right? Which includes ultras, but it won't kill an ultra. It deals 250 damage, I think, or 300. 250, I want to say, which won't kill an ultra. But we don't have ultras out in play, not yet, anyways. Ultra Cabin is, however, on the way. It has 2 upgrades in Brood War, so it's going to be speed as well as the chitinous plating. And then we might also see Guardians come into play, but as far as Guardians go, that's also a unit I don't see as a, you know, in super late game, I feel. So much as I see it as more of like a fast timing around the natural of the Terran as a bit of a surprise factor. Yeah. But I was talking a little bit about like the gist of the matchup earlier on. Let me get back into just kind of like the general know-hows of the matchup. You see Hiya has a 50 supply advantage. That is totally doable by our Zerg player to win. There we go. Some very expensive units being caught in irradiates. I feel like once it's like 80 supply, that's when you're like, okay, Zerg's probably dead, but it still really matters on how the map looks as well. Just the comeback mechanics of this game, as well as how defilers work out, is so dangerous. But oh my god, what's also dangerous is Plague. Plague hit every single science vessel, so it's down to 1 health. The Scourge will kill one of them. If it gets anywhere close, it does not get close. I think it killed 1 science vessel off to the top side, but a lot of them lived. Oh no, a spore colony. Wow, how common is it to make a spore colony out in front like that? Did he do this because he knew this would be common attack point? If so, that's awesome. If it's totally normal, then never mind. That's a very smart idea. That Plague was probably cast because, well, there's something else to Dark Swarm, right? But Plague can be very, very useful, so it's definitely not some like, oh, I might as well use it before I lose it type thing. It can actually be a real difference maker. It puts every unit down to 1 health, basically, right? Every unit that Hiya has anyways on the field. But you're going to see a lot of small attacks like this. Very efficient when you have that Dark Swarm to cover most of the units. Plague hits a lot. I think its radius is quite large. So you see that every single Marine's going to go down to 1 health, but it's having quite a tough job trying to heal all those up. But yeah, this is where things get complicated. And we also note, I guess, should note that Hiya just stopped going tanks entirely. It's just Science Vessels and Bio. The Defiler will live through as long as there's a Dark Swarm. But it does need to consume things for, well, I guess it gains energy like any other unit, but ideally you're going to have something to consume to keep this up. It does not have anything to consume, so it will eventually die. It's just kind of comical as you watch it take no damage. Double dropships going towards the main, nope. Well, I guess you can call it like the second main base. The third base does circumvent whatever lurkers were out in the fronts. However, it's kind of a repositioning is all that Jaedong needs to do, and he also has that Nidus Scout to help out. But a supply block coming down from an Overlord desk somewhere. But that Dark Swarm is absolutely brutal. Lings collapse in. What are the upgrades currently? We got 1-1 on the Lings. I'm certain Adrenal Glands is either done or would be researched very, very soon. And double upgrades are going. That's one of the things I really don't know about Brood War, is when to get upgrades and what upgrades are priority. Sometimes it feels like I see games where upgrades are really pushed off, and sometimes I see upgrades as a pivotal timing, so it's always like, huh, let's go. I do know that Terran won upgrades when they do this style, though. Like, I was expecting to see 3-3 on the bio, but I'm just not so sure about Protoss or Zerg. Engagement over here goes well for the Terran. Engagement over here might go well, too. There's a tank on the high ground, a couple tanks on the high ground. As I was talking about that tank production, it is being ramped up again with 2 factories on that kind of second main base where all the other production's going to go down. And it seems like it is just for that tank production. No attempt to swap into mech. Okay, yeah, so you do just stick on this for basically the entirety of the game. Both the upgrade's done, no longer need to put into that, but I think vehicle weapons would be useful if you're going to continue making tanks. That'll be the first weapon upgrade. Jaedong's lost a base over here, but he has another one down here. Zerg's usually working off a fairly low drone count. Yeah, supplies have evened up, which I want to say is bad news for our Terran player, but he is going up to... Oh, no, that's not 5th base. That's just army. He's on 4 bases, which isn't bad, right? Oh, is this an Overlord drop? It is an Overlord drop. Ooh. Oh, but it's found out by the units. Well, that went awkward. That was awkward very, very quickly. 1 Overlord with 1 Lurker and 4 Lings will not make it into the main base. That was a pretty big loss of units. That was at least, I want to say, 4 Lurkers. Anything else was just pure Ling. But quickly reinforcing. Jaedong still has a bit of a bank here. Ultras, as I said, will not die to Irradiate, but let's not forget that Irradiate doesn't just kill a single unit. It does have that splash damage. So you want to go ahead and, as Jaedong is doing, split them away. Unfortunately, sometimes, oh no. Sometimes it's Brood War, right? Like the AI will just derp out and oh god, this is exactly what I wanted to have happen. Unfortunately, you can't see it. It's not like it's like, you know, being revealed here, but oh my god, that's brutal. Stupid Ultralisk. But Ultralisk drop over to the bottom left is awesome. Kind of making up for that drop earlier on. Dark Swarm on the ramp is absolutely brutal, especially if there are any lurkers over there. I don't see any lurkers. I don't think he dropped any from this push. It's just all about the Ling Ultra, but they are well upgraded at this point with 2-2 base and the chitinous plating done. Right? Yeah, I did math correctly. Cool. Irradiate's going to be the way to get rid of this, but it's going to take a long time, and the ultras are going to have to be injured for it to actually kill them, unless they're splashing each other, I guess. Well, that is the ideal goal, so they'll also kill the Lings as they die. It looks like Hiya will save a lot of his economy, though. He's hit a lot of the SCVs, but he will have to replace that production, and SCVs are going to still be under threat. He's searching for the base that he already took out, and unfortunately there's not one replaced. He might not know about this bottom one, and now that the bottom side of the map has been taken over by her Zerg, it's going to be hard for Hiya to come back in, but oh god, the Scourge coming for the Science Vessels there, got her! Plague went down, but okay, you know what? I didn't actually know this. Maybe I did at one point, but Plague affects your own units. Gotcha. So AoE being a real killer in this matchup. That barracks is a goner. The Junior Lens is definitely done. Look at that little crackling go. I guess it's something to kill a base, and you don't really want to use Scourge on it. Can you use Scourge on buildings? Also something I don't know. So many things, so many little technical things I don't know, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that's probably more of basic knowledge, and I just don't play Zerg. Consume going down. Want to have those high energy defilers. Now, Jaedong is on 5 bases. Is that really fantastic? It's 5 bases to 3, so I guess that's more important, is in context to how much his opponent also has, although the 4th base is finally on the way to the top side. And this base isn't dead, it's just not mining. Oh, just coming from the backside a little bit awkwardly. Does he want to try and go for this around here? No, it's just a little bit awkward. Oh, well, no, hold on here. He's coming in from the north side. The south side army is being a little stationary because it's all been irradiated, but here come more ultras. Collapsing on the army might be exactly what Jaedong wants to do. He has a supply lead. This doesn't bode well for our Terran player. Even with the upgrades that he's had, we now have the ultras on that base 3 armor with the Cadenus plating, and they are just ripping through the army of Hiya, who doesn't have... I mean, never really had that many tanks, and his, you know, most importantly, those factories are the ones that were destroyed when the bottom left base went down, and his science vessels, while he's been good at consistently making them, have also been consistently dying. So it's not like he's been able to radiate labor everything. And every time he has had a decent number of irradiates, we've seen Jaedong split his units and survive through them, right? Because ultras do survive those spells. Very weak, of course, but they survive. I think Jaedong's really starting to take over the map here. Cancels no kills. Was that a kill on that 4th base? Gonna harass the 3rd, which, you know what? I talked about it when Hiya was attacking Jaedong's 3rd base, but I didn't really talk about it here. I don't think gas has been a major problem for Hiya, but like keep in mind those tanks, those science vessels, at some point he might have had a problem. The 4th base going down to the bottom left was huge. The 4th base going down here was huge, and now it's the 3rd base going down as well. Hiya a bit desperate, but gonna try to the very last. Now down 50's army supply. I don't see how Terran would ever take a fight. Not with Jaedong's base mechanics anyways. You know, if this was, you know, Joe Schmo D+ or something like that, absolutely, I would probably win, but no, not with Jaedong. Scans going down, but I do believe a Terran player knows how screwed he is. With the Super Saiyan mode here, maybe take better engagements with smaller groups of units, but these were ultras still really shine through, so defilers that are being focused on really shine through, so not looking too hot for our Terran player. I said I was cheering for Jaedong, but I also said that I know some more, you know, much more about Terrans. There's always that little bit of inherent bias there, but I'm glad that Jaedong won. This is an old replay, and I wonder if it was from some of the, at one point we had a couple of team leagues that had quote-unquote like borrowed the names of pro league teams. This is not a bad fight. This choke ended up working really well for Hiya. It might have been from that little group thing, because Hwasong Oz was, I guess, both of their teams from back in the day. It was definitely Jaedong's. I don't know much more about Hiya, but yeah. One of the first defunct, is that the proper word? One of the first teams, anyways, to disappear from Pro League back when the betting scandal happened. But anyways, GG was called. Jaedong does take this game. That was fun. If you guys enjoyed it, feel free to let me know if you want to see more. If you guys have any tips, I had a lot of questions this game, so feel free to enter those down below in the comments as well. And I will see you guys later for more StarCraft in general commentary. Bye-bye.